Okay, can everyone see my screen okay? Brilliant. So thank you for attending this morning session. This morning we'll be looking at asynchronous online teaching through Microsoft Sphere. In terms of the key features of Sphere, first and foremost, it allows us to create online web pages and presentations without specialist tools and specialist skills. Now, the closest comparison we could potentially make to online development tools would be Articulate Storyline and Articulate Rise. Now, of the three, Articulate Storyline has the most capability in terms of the features and what you can do with the tools, the design features. Then we have Articulate Rise, which is fantastic for presenting text, images, videos, video content, and various web URLs. And it also has some useful quizzing capabilities. Sway would come below the two because it doesn't have the quizzing functionality and capability. However, it's still a useful tool for delivering a lot of teaching content online. It also allows us to create a collaborative workspace. Changes made within a Sway package are immediately saved wherever they've been published. So that removes the need for version control when you're working with different files and you're updating the content on each file. It's immediately updated once you update within that master copy. The key benefits, removal of expensive licensing fees. So as I mentioned, the closest comparable tools would be the Articulate package. I think they come at around, I think they're currently around $1,000 or just over per license. So with Microsoft Sphere, everyone at the college has access to the package. So we really don't need to worry about additional licensing fees when it comes to delivering content through Sphere. Secondly, we have the removal of bottlenecks in design and development processes. Again, if we look at the closest comparable tools, you really need to be experienced and skilled in using some of those tools, in developing them in the right way and making sure that they're reliable once they've been published within a virtual learning environment. And then that brings us to kind of the third key benefit, which is improved reliability in cross-platform integration. Now, when you set up a Microsoft Sphere presentation, you have a URL or an embed code which you put into a virtual learning environment such as Blackboard. That's actually a very reliable way of working. Again, going back to the Articulate packages, you tend to have a lot of problems. So for example, let's say a package has been created, made available via Blackboard, and then we have a Blackboard update. Some of the code in the back end could kick out the packages that you've already uploaded. So then there's a lot of time and support needed to troubleshoot why that package may not be working. You don't have those kinds of issues with a tool like Microsoft Sphere. I'd like to now make this a bit more of a practical session and show you an example of a Sphere presentation. So this is an example which I'll share in the chat group so you can all have a play with it afterwards. Feel free to make any changes you like. This isn't being shared with anyone. So the screen that you're looking at right now is the developer, so the back end of the tool. When you create a new Sphere presentation, the first thing you will see is this banner at the top where you can add the session title. So I'm just going to change this and I'll call it Tech Talks. Then along here, we have the option to add an image. Again, this background image can be changed and we can add in a logo if we want to as well. Once we've inserted the heading, which is essentially going to be our first slide when we launch the presentation, we then have options to add additional cards through the plus button here. So if I scroll down, we've added various cards which represent the various slides and the various sections of the presentation. So here we have our learning outcomes. We have some module lead information. So if I carry all the way down to the bottom, you can see the content that's been added, if any changes want to be made. If I show you an example now of adding a new card, so we would hit the plus button. We have various options here of the type of content that we want to create or enter. So this is another heading card. We can enter some text, images. Stack is really quite a nice interaction. So it gives you stacks of cards laid one on top of the other, which is a nice learning experience for students. So if I just add this as an example, and then it's a group stack card. So I'm just going to do text for now. And I'll just call this number 1. Just for our purposes to show you how it works, number 2, and I'll leave it there for now. And then we can also add other pieces of content. So if I go back to the plus button, we can upload images, video content, etc. So now I'm going to play this presentation and show you how it looks to the end user. One thing I'd like to point out is just how quickly I've done this. So once a SWARE presentation has been set up, it can be shared amongst the team, and then anyone within the team can just go in, add their content card, and add the various pieces of content within each card and essentially the presentation. So that's what I mean in terms of collaboration. It is very much a collaborative tool. Any updates that are made to the master SWARE presentation are then immediately saved and published wherever they've been shared. So if this was embedded into Blackboard, they'd immediately be saved. So there's no need to worry ourselves about version control. We are working on the master copy here, and anyone can go in next one to make changes. So I'll just play this for the group now.
And if you make changes to the master, will that then update in Blackboard if you've embedded it in Blackboard, or will you then have to re-embed the latest version if you make changes to the master?
Absolutely, it'll automatically update within Blackboard.
Okay.
So it can be shared in more than one location. So if you wanted to create a SWARE and use it across different modules within Blackboard, you can do that.
Okay.
And it only needs to be updated in the one master copy.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So here we have our opening slide, and then we have some arrows to the bottom right where we can scroll through. Now, there are different design options available within SWARE. The option that I'm showing you at the moment is what we've decided to utilize within the NHLI. We've just found it works the nicest. But you could have horizontal or vertical scrolling. It's really up to you. So this is an introduction to the module. And then this is the stacks of cards that I've just set up. So if you can imagine, you could have images, text, we could have more multimedia added to these cards. So that's just, it's a nice piece of interactivity for the student that's available within SWARE. So if we continue to work through, we have our module outcomes. Some module lead information. Again, this could we could have a URL to an external web page if we wanted to. So this is a short video recorded by one of our module leads. I'm not going to play this for now, but again, I'll share the presentation so you can go through it at your own leisure. Now, the team decided to use a number of characters on this particular module, and the common theme is that you'll see, the student will see these characters as they work through the module and as they work through the program. So we thought it was a very nice piece of personalization. And now we have an animated video, and I'm going to play a few seconds of this just so you can have a look. This video was created within a tool called PowerTune. And again, it's just showing the integration that's available in terms of working with Sway and then integrating various tools from outside of the platform. Now, I can't hear any sound, but there's just some music playing over the video. And again, it's just an introduction to each of the speakers in the module. So I'll stop the video there, but again, feel free to explore once I've shared. So then the student can continue working through, and we have a breakdown of the module sessions. And this is an image which has been imported into the tool. And then there's an option now where the team have decided to provide some additional information, where they've provided a link to a different Sway that students can immediately access and work through. I'll open us up to any questions now. I'll just stop sharing.